Hi. So I'm trying something new this year, which is I am going to try to make videos on either a weekly or every other week basis where I kind of talk about the things that I've been working on. I've been really bad about keeping track of just like what my projects are and sharing them with people. I do a pretty good job of showing them on Twitter, but I feel like Twitter's not always the best way to share these things. So, so the idea here is that I'll just do a short video and show you all some stuff that's interesting. And honestly, I don't have that many subscribers, so this is mostly just for myself now, but if other people find it interesting, then that's great. But yeah, with that, let's jump right. Those of you who've been following me on Twitter will know that in December I worked on a project to help me test printed circuit boards. And that's this machine right here, this big boy. And this thing is called Hubble. This is actually the second version. The first version is up there. And I learned how to use FreeCAD to design this, and yeah, had to put it together and paint it and everything. So this last week, what I've been doing is I had to take the motherboard from version 1, do some rewiring to get that ready to be put into version 2. And I had to also make these little I/O panels to put in the back here so that I could wire up things to my oscilloscope and power supply and multimeter and stuff like that. I also redid the front panel completely. So version 1 had some really cheap buttons, and I decided to go with some much nicer key switches and stuff like that for this one. I haven't put the screen on it, but it's not necessary, but it's nice to have. I made an enormous mess of my desk, but it was worth it because at the end I had a working test rig. I don't have any video footage of it, but we actually used that test rig for the next segment, which is Winter Bloom production. I took the month of December off and we didn't ship any orders, and so therefore we have like a pretty good backlog of orders that I need to make and ship, about 100 of them. And to do that, we have to make a lot of stuff. So up first was making a ton of Castor and Pollexes, and Hubble came in good use there because I was able to quickly test and program and validate that all of those were working the way that I expected them to. We were able to test about 60 of them in an hour and a half, which is awesome. It's way faster and way more consistent than things used to be. But other than Castor and Pollux, we also have new products. Helium is one of them, and I spent a good amount of time this week hand placing all the surface mount components and running these panels through our reflow oven and then breaking them apart and inspecting them and testing them. I decided to do the surface mount stuff for this myself since it's going to be so low volume that it's not really worth it for me to send it out to a contract manufacturer to make, but I'm already regretting that decision. So we'll see how that goes from this point on. Another thing that you might have seen on Twitter is that I've been messing around with pin plotting. I don't actually own a pin plotter. I own a 3D printer though, so I decided to design a couple of things to add to my 3D printer to turn it into a pin plotter. It turns out that 3D printers can work quite well as a pin plotter, but mechanically there's a lot of things about them that just doesn't make sense for a pin plotter. I almost broke my 3D printer because I had the pin hanging off the edge of the bed and it tried to move into the bed and almost ripped my extruder off. So that was really fun. So I don't recommend that. I also stubbornly wrote my own software to turn SVGs into G-code, which is very buggy and generates very slow G-code, so that's not ideal either. But I had a lot of fun, and I made some kind of neat drawings with it, and it was enough to convince me that I want to make my own pen plotter. So I've actually got some parts ordered, and I'm 3D printing some parts now to actually make a pin plotter. So hopefully in the next update, I can show you an actual pin plotter that I've made. So I'm excited about that. So the last thing I did this week was build guides. So we sell DIY kits at Winterbloom, and in order to be able to put those together, you have to kind of give people instructions. There's actually 3 new products and 3 new kits that we needed to document. So Maggie and I spent like 4 hours on Wednesday taking about 500 pictures that I then had to sort through and edit. Of course, only a handful of those made the final cut. But it was probably the longest marathon session we've had of doing, kit pictures. I then had to, of course, write the build guides, and that is its own challenge, but I got them done. I have finished the build guides for hydrogen, helium, and Speak to Me, and they're all great, and they have beautiful pictures, and I'm very happy with that. Also, we started selling surface mount kits as well, and for those are definitely advanced level kits, but we still want to give people some good instructions on how to put them together. So I made a variant of KiCad's interactive bomb tool to be able to embed it into our documentation, and that way people can click on the designators and see where the parts go on the board, and I think that's a really useful thing to have for surface mount kits. Also, we have a night mode now on all of our documentation, so if you're like me and you like everything to be light text on dark background, you can now have that on all the Winterbloom documentation sites, which is super cool. Really, that's about it. I did a couple of other things this week. I started playing around with KiCad 6, which was really cool. There's lots of neat new features that I'm super excited to take advantage of. But yeah, if you watched this whole video, thank you, I guess. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let me know. If you didn't, that's fine too. You don't have to watch it ever again. I promise no one's gonna make you unless you're, I don't know, being tortured at some very strange place where they use my videos as torture. Anyways, I will see you all next week. And before I go, just a shout out to the lovely people who sponsor me on GitHub. I'm gonna put their names on the screen or something if I can figure out how to do video editing. But thank you so much, everyone who supports me and everyone who supports Winterbloom stuff. I really appreciate it.